KRS 61.826 and Council Rule 5A. I am your committee chair, Andrew Owen. I'm joined by my vice chair, Scott Reed, joined online by committee member Josie Raymond, joined in chambers by committee member Jeff Hudson, committee member Kevin Bratcher, and committee member Betsy Rui. Let's see. So I didn't get any. I think we'll be. Yeah, I think we'll be joined by others as we go here. Okay. So the first piece of business is O-083-25, an ordinance relating to the zoning of properties located at 4514R and 4516R Crawford Avenue and 7006 Textile Avenue, containing approximately 3.84 acres and being in Louisville Metro, case number 24 zone 0128. Second. Properly moved and seconded. Julia
Williams, Office of Planning. So this is Ordinance 8325. This is located in Council District 12 at 4514R and 4516R Crawford Avenue, as well as 7006 Textile Avenue. The existing use is residential, and the proposed use is for residential. The existing zoning is R4 and R5A. The proposed zoning is R6. Both are all of this is located in the neighborhood form district. The change in zoning, like I mentioned, is from R4 single family residential and R5A multifamily residential to R6 multifamily residential. There was also a detailed district development plan with binding elements associated with the site. The site is approximately 3.84 acres. There are 48 multifamily units proposed, access from Textile Avenue, and then the existing R5A was zoned back in 1984 under 94884. So this is the applicant's development plan. You can see access off of Textile. This is the subject property. This existing structure is proposed to be demolished, and this existing structure faces Textile Avenue. This is the subject site facing Crawford Avenue. Adjacent single-family residential on Crawford Avenue, and adjacent single-family residential along Textile Avenue. These are the applicant's renderings. They held their neighborhood meeting on August 21st, 2024. The Land Development and Transportation Committee held its meeting on February 13th, 2025. The Planning Commission held its public hearing on March 6th, where there was a motion to recommend approval of the change in zoning from R4 and R5A to R6, passing by a vote of 5-2. Are there any questions?
So this property is located in District 12 in Councilman Joseph's district. My office did not receive any guidance from his district. Has anyone else spoken to him? Can you introduce yourself? And the floor is yours. Thank you.
Bryson Sebastian, District 12 Legislative Assistant. So the only thing we've heard from residents in the area is that Textile Avenue, they've already have some existing issues with just how narrow the road is, and only one car can pass. So constituents have raised some concerns about whether the construction trucks will be using that, or how that would be mitigated once there are 48 additional residents. But the Planning Commission didn't see that as an issue. But that's the only concerns that we've had from constituents, is just the concern about Textile Avenue.
Julia, can you bring up the slide that shows kind of the entrance? When I was looking at it too, I felt like I was always turned around. I couldn't figure out exactly how the entrance would work related to Textile. And I'm very familiar with the area actually. So Crawford is on the top there, and Dixie is
Parallel to textile. This is textile, so Dixie's
over here on the right.
right, it's where this cursor is kind of
Okay.
flashing over here.
And so it wasn't so much, it was the part of the Textile Avenue itself that you had heard from constituents that wasn't
Yes, so.
wide enough?
Yeah, what we were told is that only one car can move up and down Textile, like, as it is right now. So if one person's coming into the neighborhood, like, whatever residents are on the street have to wait until that car is passed to back out and turn. And that's the only way to get to Dixie for all the houses that exist on Textile. So I'm not sure what the solution or issue, but they've just raised concerns about whether there would be trucks there, whether there'd be, construction vehicles, how that would work.
Julia, can you tell from that map the width of Textile?
The width is not shown on the plan.
Okay.
Having been there, it's definitely like 10 to 12 feet. It's certainly not
Yeah.
standard 18 feet.
Okay, Councilwoman Rui.
Thank you. So I know there was a lot of opposition among the community, primarily to the narrowness of the road. And so a couple of different questions. First of all, what is the point of that finger on the Crawford Avenue if it's not another access point?
So it's part of the property. There's a sidewalk that goes from the main development site here. There's a sidewalk that goes out to Crawford Avenue for pedestrian access to that roadway. And then the detention, and there's some sewer and drainage easements along that area as well.
Okay. Second would be, okay, so I was looking at the binding elements on there, and I saw very little on the binding elements. And given the neighbors' concerns with the narrowness of the road, and you're talking a significant number of additional homes back there, I think there needs to be a binding element requiring that they widen the road to at least some extent. Yep, that's in the form of a motion.
Second.
Thank you.
So in order to widen the road, you'd have to have space to be able to widen the road. So it seems like we might need to look into the feasibility of that rather than just saying that needs to happen. I know it's been moved, but can we maybe take a step back and say, can we look into the feasibility of that as a possibility?
Yes, that's actually would be my preference, yes. Like, okay, how about this? We table this until we have a chance to contact a developer and ask them to determine the feasibility of doing that? Does that sound?
But okay, I don't think that is the form of a motion yet, so let's hold off on that for a second. Let me let Councilman Batchon step in. He's been in the queue.
Yes, I will withdraw my motion at this time.
And before we go to Councilman Batchon, I want to acknowledge that Councilman Batchon had joined us right at the beginning of the meeting. We've also been joined by Councilwoman Parrish Wright virtually, and we're joined by Councilwoman Chappell virtually as well. Okay, the floor is yours, Councilman Batchon.
Thank you, Chair Owen. I appreciate that. Everybody's made some valid points here, and as I'm looking at this, I'm very, very, very familiar with this area and kind of the landscape. I think we're going to have some significant problems, Councilwoman Rui, with getting Public Works and people involved to get this road up to code. And it will probably be a significant expense, I think, to the developer to do that. I think it's a requirement, 100% requirement. It sits back in an area that is predominantly residential, single-family dwellings. Obviously, you can see the Home Depot there and some restaurants on the front side. And a small little old access road, I think that's called an Old Dixie Highway there. the entry and exit of this area is very difficult to get in and out of Dixie Highway on that space already without the additional traffic or cars that will be traveling that area. I think we need to go back to the drawing board, and I think possibly making the form of the motion to table on this, if there's nobody else in the queue to discuss, would be ideal to kind of get an understanding of where Councilman Joseph is, and if there's been any other comments or concerns or development from his side of the conversations to see where they'd like to be on this. So, is there anybody else in the queue? I'll make the form of a motion to table.
So we have a motion to table this, and it has been properly seconded. Do we have more discussion on that motion? There is no discussion on the motion. Thank you. So we can do a voice vote. All those in favor of tabling, please say aye.
Aye.
And those opposed? No. The ayes have it. This has been tabled, and hopefully you guys can have some conversations in the meantime and report, back to us at the next meeting.
And Mr. Chair, if I just might point out, the 90-day date on this is June 4th. We only have that one meeting in May. So we do have one additional cycle on this, but and we have a little bit of more time than we normally would between meetings. But it will need to be moved out at the next committee meeting.
Thank you, Travis. Okay, our second item of business, number 2, is O-084-25, an ordinance relating to the zoning of properties located at 1918, 1922, and 1926 Lower Hunters Trace, containing approximately 3.66 acres and being in Louisville Metro, case number 24, zone 0139. Properly moved and seconded. Julia?
So this is case number 24 zone 0139 for the Lower Hunters Trace subdivision. This is also located in Council District 12 at 1918, 1922, and 1926 Lower Hunters Trace. The existing use is residential, and the proposed use is also residential. The existing zoning is R4, proposed is R5 in the Neighborhood Form District. The request is that change in zoning from R4 single-family residential to R5 single-family residential with a detailed district development plan, major preliminary subdivision plan, and binding elements. Currently, there are 3 existing lots. There are 17 lots proposed with 6,000 square foot lots. There's 1 non-buildable lot that will be an open space lot with a detention basin, and then access is from both Lower Hunters Trace and Disler Lane. This is the applicant's development plan. This is the access point off of Disler Lane, and then the access point from Lower Hunters Trace. This is that open space lot I referred to with a detention basin. This is the subject property. There are existing homes on the subject site that face Lower Hunters Trace. This is across the residential located across Disler Lane. And these are elevations of what the homes along that subdivision might look like. The applicant held their neighborhood meeting on November 6, 2024. The Land Development and Transportation Committee held their meeting on February 13, 2025. The Planning Commission held the public hearing on March 6, 2025, with a motion to recommend approval of the change in zoning from R4 to R5, passing by a vote of 8-0. Are there any questions?
So this is also in Councilman Joseph's district. Did you have anything you would like to add to this one? No? So Councilman Batchon.
Thank you, Chair. This area I'm also very familiar with. I think this is a great way to show the community and the neighbors and the residents in those single-family dwellings and in that community that's been there for a long time, that there's a development that's not just multifamily in that community. This is a Habitat for Humanity is doing a great work, and this presentation and what they're going to do for that area is going to be beautiful. That area has been inundated with multifamily in not the best locations, and I think this is a great way to show the constituents there that this is a step forward to making sure we have the right type of homes and single-family dwellings in that area. So,
Councilwoman Rui.
Thank you. Two quick questions. Number one, just looking at the frontages of those buildings, are those manufactured homes?
I don't believe so, no.
Okay, that certainly looked like it, but it's fine with me. And then looking at the plan, I'm fine with the plan. I like the increased density in there, but it's not multifamily. Just to make sure I understand what I'm looking at, these places with green hash marks, are those low-lying areas?
That's tree canopy preservation.
Okay, that is tree canopy. Okay, thank you very much. Okay, that's all I got.
I just wanted to make a quick comment too. That increasing density, it can be done in all sorts of ways, and this is one way that this developer has kind of addressed it. And I think a lot of times people hear an increasing density and they get nervous, but I think we should be open-minded when we talk about those things, and it can come in all sorts of forms, I guess is what I would like to say. Any other questions, comments about this item? Okay, Cheryl, can you open up?
Voting is open.
Oops.
Committee Member Parrish Wright,
Yes.
Committee Member Raymond,
Yes.
voting's closing. Chair, you have 8 yes votes.
Thank you. With 8 yes votes, this will move to old business on the Metro Council agenda. Next item of business, number 3, O-086-25, an ordinance imposing a temporary moratorium on billiard parlors, game rooms, and similar entertainment uses in the Highview Planned Development District. Properly moved and seconded. This is sponsored by Councilman Hudson. Councilman Hudson.
Thank you, Chair. I'm going to beg for your grace a little bit and talk about items number 3 and 4 in the same, because they're connected. The first one that's on the floor now is in putting in a moratorium so that item number 4 can take place without conflict. So let's talk about number 3. A landlord of a strip mall in my district was approached by a tenant to lease some space in that strip mall. That landlord's attorneys looked at the PDD for Highview, and in their opinion, it was not clear whether or not the use being proposed would be allowed with the PDD. So they called my office, asked my opinion on it. My opinion was, I'm not a lawyer, so I contacted the county attorney, who has been very helpful. And the county attorney has agreed. It's not very clear. So we want to get clarity in the PDD as to whether or not this could be allowed, because the worst that could happen is that this landlord signs a lease with this tenant. The tenant expends resources and money to get set up, and then we find out that you can't put that in the PDD, and they've lost all that. Which has happened once before in this exact same space. So we're seeking to get clarity from the Planning Commission on the allowances from the PDD, and in the interim, asking for a moratorium so that that scenario doesn't happen. And I'll be glad to take any questions on it.
So.
I have a question, but I'll give it to you.
Okay. So I'm trying to, in the interest, and I'll just be, of trying to avoid a moratorium, because I am not a fan of moratoriums. Can't the landlord just say, kind of put it on hold until number 4 takes place? And I guess I'm not understanding, I understand 4, I guess I'm not understanding 3.
Yeah, 3 was just to put some protections in place. Landlords want to rent property. And if they were to go forward thinking that they want to take the risk and go ahead and rent this space out, and then once the Planning Commission has done their review, come back with a recommendation or a finding that this use is not allowed in the PDD, then you've got an unhappy tenant that has expended a lot of money and a lot of resources trying to get set up.
I hear that, but between the landlord and the tenant, can't they just agree that they're going to put this on ice until?
I guess they could.
And that way we can avoid
I guess they could.
a
Yeah.
moratorium in this instance?
Yeah, and
It seems like, I guess it seems like a very specific instance, right?
It
As
is.
opposed to if this were something that there were 8 of these proposals coming in front of
you're
us.
exactly right. It is very specific in this instance and very specific in that it only applies to the Highview PDD,
Yeah.
not a moratorium countywide.
Right.
I felt like this was probably the safest way to go forward. But, everybody's got
And
their right.
what is the use exactly?
It was a combination of consignment store and online gaming, or not online gaming, charitable gaming, sorry. And the charitable gaming part of it is the one that is unclear. Because the PDD today allows a game room, but when it was written, a game room meant, and I'll date myself here, something like Aladdin's Castle, where you had video games for kids to come in and play. State law has changed over the years to make it unclear if this constitutes a game room in the context that the PDD defines a game room. So we're just looking to seek clarity on that.
Vice Chair Reed.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And the question I have is for Travis. I just want to make sure before we move forward on this that this can be carved out specifically for this planned development district and it will not affect the rest of the city.
Yes, that's correct. So each of the PDDs have sort of their own, a PDD is kind of its own mini zoning map. There are 3 sort of sub areas within this PDD, and this moratorium would only apply to those 3 sub areas specifically.
Thank you.
Councilwoman Parrish-Wright, did you have a comment?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. And I know that there's a lot of thoughts and process and work that goes behind this. I know that Councilman Hudson is really very measured about this. My concern is I also have concern with the emergence of more and more moratoriums, just thinking about how what we've dealt with, it could just be what we've dealt with at the state and how I've seen some things play out. And then I definitely am familiar with the organization as it's done charitable gaming in other locations. It also does a lot of money and, gives back a lot of money to the community. I just want to know, like, what's the sticking point with this? Because I can go up Preston, I can go in other places and see similar establishments with those things in play. I just feel like I'm missing something on why this one is at this level, and just sharing what the chair shared about the use of moratoriums and making sure we're doing that when we absolutely need to. If there's something that we can work out with the planning and development of this, that we don't have to do it that way, and if they're willing to meet in the middle to meet the needs that Councilman Hudson is trying to address.
Can I respond?
Yes, your floor is yours, Councilman
Thank you,
Hudson.
sir. Yeah, I wish there were a different word than moratorium, because moratorium gets thrown around to describe lots of things that have bad history, and we all know what those are. I wish we could have put in here that we just want to put this on pause or on hold, just for this PDD and just for this application. Again, I'll go back to the previous example of what did happen in this exact same space. We had a woman come in and wanted to put in a vape shop in this exact space. And she went out and bought over $200,000 worth of inventory, did the build out in the space, and then after the fact found out, well, there's a prohibition against having a vape shop within 1,000 feet of a school or a church or a daycare, or we know the rest. And she was not able to go further in her lease, and she lost hundreds of thousands of dollars throughout that process. I guess I'm a little bit gun shy from that example. When this one came up, I was just trying to put some safeguards in place to keep that from happening again. And this was the path forward that we came up with, collectively with the county's attorney.
Councilwoman Hawkins, did you want to speak
Yeah.
on this? Okay.
It's trying to figure out a way to say this. As a business owner, I beg to differ slightly, because as a business owner, when you're obtaining a business, you should already have a budget. And you and that landlord should have already discussed what that looks like. So I don't want us to start dictating businesses in any district. You know, we need, just like we need businesses downtown, and we need downtown to thrive, we need every other area to thrive as well. So I just don't want us to start dictating areas that businesses go in. You know, especially if they're credible businesses. I mean, unless it's something, I haven't had an opportunity, like, I only heard about this in, you know, one time I haven't had an opportunity, my colleague was on vacation and I was too, so I hadn't had an opportunity to sit down and really, you know, dig into this. So I'm hoping that we get the opportunity to discuss this, because I'm a business owner, and I want to support this, but I just got to have a better understanding. And then once I get that, then, you know, I roll till the wheels fall off. But I just, you know, I don't know about this, guys. I think we jumping into other lanes, and we can barely police, you know, some of the safety issues and some of the things that we already got going on. I just don't want to, you know, I just think we treading a little different here. So I'd definitely like to have a conversation about this.
Can I respond,
Later.
Mr. Chair?
Okay.
Sure.
Yeah, I am not in the business of picking winners and losers, and saying we should have unrestricted business. Well, that's what we do. We don't allow unlicensed liquor stores. We don't allow, I mean, we issue licenses for every kind of business there is. And I'm not trying to promote or demote, I guess, whatever the opposite of promote is. Any type of business going in here is just, we have a set of restrictions already in place. The only question is, those restrictions are not clear in being able to answer the question. And to Councilwoman Hawkins' point, business person should have done their homework. Well, they did. They asked the landlord. The landlord asked their attorney, and the answer came back, well, we don't know. So we're just trying to find an answer to that question, to be able to allow this business owner to make an educated decision on whether they should go into that space or not.
Councilman Batchon.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. And I think to kind of echo some of those words, I think this is more than anything. I think this is protecting the hopefully soon-to-be business owner in that space by making sure they're in compliance, or that the law is written in the PDD that is in compliance with what they are going to do, so they're not stuck like the vape shop, losing hundreds of thousands of dollars, not knowing that they weren't supposed to be there. I think the landlord has done a very good job in regards to making sure their tail is covered here, to make sure that this is allowed, and if it's not allowed, what do we need to do to make it allowed, or how do we move forward? So I think it's more of a protection mechanism, so nobody is wasting hundreds of thousands of dollars investing into a business just to be told no after they've spent the money.
Julia.
So we do have a process for this, and I don't believe the Office of Planning was contacted regarding this site. And so our process is for, if somebody has a question of the land use, that they would come to our office and we would interpret what is written in the PDD to determine whether or not it's a allowable use or not. And that part didn't happen. I don't know if my other colleagues here have been contacted. They have? Okay. And so did we make I just don't know that we made a determination, but if we said that, say, a charitable gaming was not permitted, then we could ask the applicant to change the PDD. There's a process for that, so that it could be permitted, or, and the Planning Commission would make that decision. So this is, I would say, maybe a little bit more roundabout than kind of directly affecting us, but perhaps Travis can indicate what we had determined on this property.
Sure. So there, as Councilman Hudson indicated, he reached out to me about this issue. I took a look at it. There is a sort of a hybrid proposal here, but I was not contacted by the owner or by some applicant. There isn't even an application for there to be an applicant at this point. It was sort of, hey, could we potentially do this? And so I gave a look at what they were proposing, which again is sort of a consignment shop and then a gaming facility on top. My office, in the wake of some state law changes, had produced a memo that had interpreted this category, billiard parlors, game rooms, and similar entertainment uses, to encompass some now legalized form of gambling. And so the answer was potentially this could be viable here, but each individual use really needs to be looked at. That's, the state law changes are all very specific. Different kinds of gambling may or may not constitute games of skill. I mean, there's an analysis there that that planning is familiar with, but again, there's been no formal application. We don't know all the details, so we weren't able to determine one way or the other for certain whether or not this is currently allowed. That was the extent of my conversation. I haven't gotten any more details to report to you all.
So it seems like maybe we could, step back, talk to the owner or the person that wants to do the business, make an interpretation on what the Highview PDD says. There have been, some conversations about this, but nothing was finally determined, like yes or no. But I believe that could happen through looking at that Highview PDD and make a determination. And if it's determined that this use is allowed, then they could move forward. They could also, somebody in the public could say, we don't agree, and then we would let the Board of Zoning Adjustment make that decision. Or if we, if we're looking at all the information and determine that it's not permitted, that there's a way forward for that user to change the planned development district. So there's a process for both of these things that maybe could prevent the Planning Commission looking at something that typically our staff looks at prior to making a determination. And I don't know if that's a way you wanted to go or not.
Oh, sorry, Councilwoman Chapel?
Sure, maybe it's a great piggyback off of those comments from Julia, but looking at the plan right now, it looks like it was done in 2016, so I would encourage the councilman and also Highview just to go back and revisit that because it's coming up on 10 years. Communities change, so maybe it's not just the billiard parlors, game rooms, and similar entertainment areas that need to be examined. Maybe it's the entire thing. I know that's a huge cost burden, but I think that that's important, especially as stakeholders may have changed. And I understand the need for clarity in that definition. I think that we're working on some things right now, and the law can be quite antiquated sometimes. And you had given the example, Councilman Hudson, of a vape shop that had invested a lot of money into this space and then ultimately found out that they weren't permitted to be in that space. I don't know how that came about, if they had submitted a formal application or if that was just a handshake with the strip mall owner. But I was wondering, in light of this moratorium, has the business owner or landlord said that they are in support of this moratorium? Because if we're citing that we're doing this for protection of them, then they should be in agreement of that. Otherwise, to me, this is a risk that that business is assuming, and I think that especially in light of this conversation, they're aware of that risk, and so if they choose to invest and then ultimately they're not able to do it, that's on them, and that's a risk that their business as a private entity took. It's not our responsibility to make sure that they're managing their money well.
Councilman Bratcher.
Well, I would just hope that we could trust our colleague here. I mean, he is the area, and it's just affecting his area. One thing I've really enjoyed about Metro Council so far is that we respect each other's turf, so to speak. I guess that's the right word. And I've seen we've got great respect for each other. And it's, once you start digging or tearing things apart, and I mean, it's hard to turn back. And I just don't see a 180-day stall to be a burden on anyone. Thank you.
Councilwoman Rui.
Thank you very much. I'm just concerned that we haven't allowed the system to work yet. It's not been brought before planning and design to even get a determination. Where we further down the line and we still see problems, I wouldn't have no problem considering a moratorium, but at this point the system hasn't been allowed to work, so I can't support this.
So what I would say too is I am fully supportive of item number 4. I still don't understand the need for the moratorium because to me it seems like everyone is aware of the situation, and so it seems to me like if we just spend the time in number 4, what's being asked in number 4, and everybody's aware of what the situation is, then number 3 seems unnecessary to me. And I haven't heard anything yet that makes me understand the need for number 3. In all due respect, I don't. So I will be voting for number 4, and we'll probably voting against number 3 out of my dislike of moratoriums without seeing an emergency need for it. So, on this one is number 3 that we're discussing now. The two are related, like Councilman Hudson said. So do we have any more questions or comments about number 3? Okay, without further comments, Cheryl, can you open up the roll call voting, please?
Voting's open. Committee Member Parrish Wright.
No.
Committee Member Raymond.
No.
Voting's closing. Chair, you have 4 yes votes and 4 no votes.
That fails, but that will still go to old business. Is that correct on the Metro Council agenda? Yeah. Yeah, so it will go to old business on Metro Council. Okay. Now, on to number 4, which, as we discussed before, is related here. This is item number R033-25, a resolution requesting the Planning Commission to review the Highview Plan Development District with regard to billiard parlors, game rooms, and similar entertainment uses in the use table. Can I get a motion?
Second.
Can I get a motion? Properly moved and seconded. This is, Councilman Hudson, did you have further comment about this?
No, I think we've kind of covered it. I'll be glad to answer any questions on it, but I think we've covered the material.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let's see. Do I have anybody in the queue here on this one? Just a second. I don't see anybody. Wait, Councilman Bratcher, are you in the queue on this one?
No, I'm sorry. Take me out.
Okay. Anybody else have any further questions or comments on this? All right. Cheryl, can you open up for a roll call vote, please? It is a resolution. We can do a voice vote on this. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those against?
Aye.
The ayes have it. So this can go to the consent calendar? You okay with it going to consent?
Absolutely.
All right. We can put this on consent for the Metro Council agenda. No. All right. Item number 5, R-035-25, a resolution recognizing the Meriwether-Fort Hill Neighborhood Association in the official neighborhood map of the Meriwether-Fort Hill neighborhood.
Motion.
Thank you. Properly moved and seconded. Councilwoman Chappell, would you like to speak to this as the sponsor?
Absolutely. Yeah. This has been kind of a housekeeping item that my office wanted to tackle on behalf of the neighborhood. And given that we're doing our next BOB, Building Our Blocks program in the Meriwether-Fort Hill neighborhood, it seemed like a really perfect time. This essentially changes the name of Meriwether in logic, the name of the neighborhood, to Meriwether-Fort Hill. It's not only changing, adding the Fort Hill, but it's also changing the spelling of Meriwether. The land was given by the Meriwether family, which only has one R in it, and so that R that's currently on logic is going to be deleted, and so it'll be Meriwether with hyphen and then Fort Hill. The area has a very rich history going back to the Civil War, and there's some really great attachments or exhibits that is in Prime Government if you want to check them out. And I have some more. We've been working with really great neighborhood historians, as well as this man named Tom Owen that you all may have heard of, to kind of dive into the history of this community. And we have been consulting with not only Logic, who manages the map, but also the Office of Planning and the Meriwether-Fort Hill Neighborhood Association, which revived itself a couple of years ago, and they have been wonderfully active, and we're so grateful for their partnership. And yeah, I'm just hoping that you all can vote for this. By the way, the boundaries of the Meriwether-Fort Hill neighborhood, it would be Meriwether Avenue, where the dump is. That would be to the north. To the east, it would be South Shelby. South is East Brandeis. And then to the west, it is unfortunately I-65. Not necessarily a great neighborhood boundary to have an expressway, but that is what it is. We're not changing that today. We're just focusing on the name of it. But while I also have the floor, I want to invite everyone out to our Big Bob Day on May 17th in Preston Park, which is in the Meriwether-Fort Hill neighborhood. It'll be a celebration of the neighborhood, as well as a wonderful resource fair for all the Lavillians to enjoy that day from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. And happy to answer any questions that you all may have.
Thank you, Councilwoman. I don't have anybody in the queue. Does anybody have any questions or concerns about this? This is a resolution, so we can do a voice vote. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? The ayes have it. Would you like this to be moved to consent, Councilwoman, or would you like this on old business?
We can keep it on consent unless anybody else wants to pull it off, and if I feel the need to for whatever reason, I will.
Thank you. This will be moved to consent on the agenda going forward. That's all we have on the agenda. Does anybody else have anything that they would like to discuss before we adjourn? Without any further business in front of us, we are adjourned. Thank you.